what about you? Any question on the corrections?
Yes, sir. The one that speak about the 30,000 children who does not have internet available.
Yes.
Oh, I know that the word internet can spell with that same word. So I was saying that could not be the case that I should use for that redundant word.
All right. Do you have the whole sentence there or just some of the sentence? Okay, I think what would be helpful is for me to bring up the test on the screen. So I'm going to be going to that document there that you're talking about. I'm going to get the test that was done last week. Lesson 3. All right, here it is. I'm going to bring up the test and I'm going to bring up Brother Roy's paper. All right, I'm going to go and get Brother Roy's paper. Advanced Communication Studies. Okay, let me bring up Solon's paper just in case he might have a question. All right. Okay, I'm ready. First of all, let me go to the test. Okay, there's the test on redundancy. And I believe the question is number 4. Yes, 31,000 children do not have internet available in their communities and are not able to receive online teaching because they neither have Ethernet cable nor Wi-Fi. Now, here is the point I'm making. The main point of the sentence is 31,000 children do not have internet available in their communities and are not able to receive online teaching. That's the main point. This whole part of the last part of this sentence, because they neither have Ethernet cable nor Wi-Fi. Let me explain. When you say 31,000 children do not have internet available in their communities and are not able to receive online teaching, that says everything. There is no need to add because they neither have Ethernet cable nor Wi-Fi. The fact that internet is not available means that even if they were to have an Ethernet cable or Wi-Fi, it would not work because internet is not available. If they have a modem that could bring them Wi-Fi, and they have a cable that can be put in the modem and put into the laptop or the computer, desktop. If they don't have internet in the wires, they're not going to be able to get any online teaching. Ethernet cable means that cable that you put into the modem and another part of that cable goes into the laptop. And Wi-Fi is it's wireless, so it can send the teaching right to the laptop. But if no internet is available, none of these things need to be mentioned, because it won't help them. So just to say 31,000 children do not have internet available in their communities and are not able to receive online teaching is enough. To mention this additional information is redundant or unnecessary. All right, any other question on the test?
No, sir.
Okay, let me deal with number 10. Some church leaders conduct worship at their members' homes by video conferencing only. Now that in itself is a complete idea. But to add, instead of meeting in person with the members at the church building, would be unnecessary, because it is already implied that the worship is being held by video conferencing. Let us say by Zoom. Okay, so you don't have to mention instead of meeting in person with the members at the church building. So this would be redundant or unnecessary. To say redundant does not mean that it is limited to one word. It could be two words, it could be several words that add a detail that is implied in the first part of the sentence, and therefore it's unnecessary to put it in. Okay, I'm going to be moving on to the new lesson unless there is another question that you have. No more questions?
No, sir.
Okay, let us move on then to the new lesson. This new lesson is called Misrelated Participle. General objectives are: 1, to examine misrelated participles. 2, to examine examples of misrelated participles. Specific objectives are: 1, at the end of this lesson, the students will have defined misrelated participles. 2, at the end of this lesson, the students will have explained why a participle may be misrelated. 3, at the end of this lesson, the students will have explored 10 examples of misrelated participles. 4, at the end of this lesson, the students will have answered 10 questions to distinguish between sentences which have misrelated participles and participles that match the noun, which is the subject of the sentences. Now let us look at the meaning of misrelated participle. A participle is a verb that describes a noun, such as the use of the verb to be with ing. For example, the present participle of the verb to be, that is being, or the past participle of the verb to be, having been. Participles may also be used with other verbs such as the verb to show, to know, to decide. For example, showing or having shown, knowing or having known, deciding or having decided. So a participle is a verb that describes a noun. This participle functions like an adjective. Notice I say it is a verb that describes a noun. English grammar might also call it a verbal adjective. Okay, so it has the characteristics of a verb, and it has the characteristics of an adjective that describes. You know ordinarily that an adjective describes a noun, like we did in the Hebrew test earlier on today, that you had to find a suitable adjective that would match the noun. Okay, so an adjective describes a noun, and a verb expresses action. This participle then functions like an adjective. So thus far I'm dealing with the word participle, not misrelated as yet, but participle. It has the characteristics of a verb, and it has the characteristics of an adjective. Just as an adjective describes a noun, so the participle describes the noun, which functions as the subject of the sentence. Okay, ordinarily in parts of speech and studying grammar, the noun is used as the subject of the sentence. Okay, when the participle is not connected with the noun that it is supposed to be describing, it is called a misrelated participle. This is the key point now. Notice mis means that it does not correspond, it does not match. Related means connected, just like how you may have relatives that are connected to you in your family, whether it is an uncle or an aunt. So you have a participle that is not connected to the noun. It should be connected, but it is not connected. So when the participle is not connected with the noun that it is supposed to be describing, it is called a misrelated participle. Now, number 3 is the key to understand the definition of misrelated participle. When the participle is not connected with the noun that it is supposed to be describing, it is called a misrelated participle. So let me give you some examples of misrelated participles. Now here is a participle, and here is the noun that forms the subject of the sentence. And ordinarily, the participle should be related or connected to the noun because it is describing, or it is supposed to be describing, the noun. But these are examples of participles that are not connected to the noun. Having been baptized, the church rejoiced that one more person had been added to their number. So let us find out what the problem is between the participle and the noun. Having been baptized is a past participle, but it is not describing the church, which is the noun that is functioning as the subject of the sentence. You see how it is functioning as the subject? Let us leave out having been baptized for a few seconds. Let's leave this out. The sentence would make sense without this participle if we just said the church rejoiced that one more person had been added to their number. That would make sense. But when you put this participle, which is designed to be related to church, yet they are not related, it is a misrelated participle. Now let me prove that the church is not related to having been baptized. It is not the church which had just been baptized, but it is the one more person who had been added to their number. Again, it is not the church which had just been baptized, but it is the one more person who had been added to their number. Therefore, having been baptized is a misrelated participle. The sentence should have been written as follows. Having been baptized, the new convert rejoiced to have been added to the church. Now that would have been grammatically correct and it would have made sense. Having been baptized, the new convert rejoiced to have been added to the church. Having been baptized would be the participle, and convert would be the noun. Okay, the new convert gives you the whole idea of the subject of the sentence. So it is the new convert who had been baptized. Okay, so that would have been grammatically correct and it would have made sense also. Here's a second example of misrelated participles. The participle here is being led, and the noun, which is the subject of the sentence, is eunuch. Okay. Being led should be related to eunuch. But if we look at the whole sentence, we will see that there is a problem, that being led is a misrelated participle because it's not grammatically connected to eunuch. Being led by the angel of the Lord, the Ethiopian eunuch came unto the evangelist Philip. What is the problem? Being led is a present participle, but it is not describing the Ethiopian eunuch, which is the subject of the sentence. It is not the Ethiopian eunuch who was led by the angel of the Lord to the evangelist Philip, but it is the evangelist Philip who was led by the angel of the Lord to the Ethiopian eunuch. Therefore, being led is a misrelated participle, since it should have been describing the evangelist Philip instead of the Ethiopian eunuch. The sentence should have been written as follows. Being led by the angel of the Lord, the evangelist Philip came unto the Ethiopian eunuch. And we know the account in Acts chapter 8, verses 26 to 39, that's how it happened. The angel of the Lord appeared to the evangelist when he was in Samaria and told him to go on the road that leads to Gaza, which is a desert road. And while he was on that way, he saw the Ethiopian eunuch traveling in his chariot in the distance. And the Holy Spirit said to Philip to run and catch up with the chariot. And when he did so, he heard the Ethiopian reading aloud from the book of the prophet Isaiah. And he asked him, do you understand what you're reading? And he said, how can I except somebody guide me? So that's how it went. The angel guided Philip, and he was placed on the same road that the Ethiopian eunuch was traveling on. So being led is not connected to the Ethiopian eunuch in this case. It was the evangelist Philip that was led, not the Ethiopian eunuch. Another example of a misrelated participle is having decided to follow Jesus Christ, the evangelist Philip baptized the Ethiopian eunuch. Well, here again, the problem is that the participle having decided, which should be connected to the noun is evangelist. The noun also is Philip. They're not connected. How? The participle having decided is misrelated to the evangelist Philip, for it was actually the Ethiopian eunuch who had decided to follow Jesus Christ. The sentence should have been written as follows. Having decided to follow Jesus Christ, the Ethiopian eunuch was baptized in water by the evangelist Philip. Now that would have been grammatically and scripturally accurate. Having decided to follow Jesus Christ, the Ethiopian eunuch was baptized in water by the evangelist Philip. Number 4, having been raised from the dead, 2 disciples left Jerusalem and went to Emmaus. Well, here is the problem again. This participle is not related to the noun, which is the subject of the sentence. How? The participle having been raised is misrelated to the subject of the sentence disciples. For it was not the disciples who had been raised from the dead, but it was Jesus Christ who was raised from the dead. The sentence should have been written as follows. Having been raised from the dead, Jesus Christ appeared to 2 disciples as they left Jerusalem and were going to Emmaus. That would have been grammatically and also scripturally correct.
Sir,
Yes.
how would we know exactly? Because, for example, when I read this sentence, I had no idea that it could possibly talking about Jesus. You know, because if I don't know maybe where the quotation is from, I would probably have not known. So how do we come about to know what the participle is describing?
All right. When you don't have the context to work with, what you need to focus on then is to look at the participle and then at the noun and see if they are related to each other. That is really the key. First of all, look at the participle and then look at the noun and look at the whole sentence and see if it makes sense that this here, the participle, is directly connected with the noun or the subject of the sentence. If it is not, then the sentence has not been written properly. It is grammatically incorrect. The participle is not related to the noun. The advantage that we have in these examples is that these examples are taken from the Acts of the Apostles. And you have read the Acts of the Apostles, but if you don't have the context, you'd really have to focus on seeing if the participle and the noun, which is the subject of the sentence, match each other. If they match, then that's fine. If they don't match, then you know that the participle is misrelated, because the participle is not just a verb, but it is also an adjective. And if the adjective does not go with the noun, if the adjective does not match the noun, then you know that the participle is not related to the noun. So that's the key. Asking the question, is the participle related to the noun? Or is there a mismatch? If there is a mismatch, if it is not connected, then you have a misrelated participle. I only use these examples because from your background as a Bible student, you would remember the context of these different accounts in the book of Acts. But
Yes.
I think what I've told you just now would help. You might not have a context to work with. So just ask, does this participle describe the noun? Do they go together? And if they don't go together, then the participle is a misrelated participle.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes. Some more examples. Yes, Brother Roy, go ahead.
Before you go on, so if I understand the word misrelated participles,
Yeah.
is it the meaning that it is not given the right context of the sentence and it can be misleading? Is it what the word means?
Yeah, it can be misleading because if you connect the participle to the noun and you think that both of them go together, you could misunderstand the sentence. Let me go back to the definition of misrelated. In number 3 of the definition of misrelated participle, when the participle is not connected, notice, not connected with the noun that it is supposed to be describing, it is called a misrelated participle. So when you look at the participle and then you look at the noun and you look at the whole sentence and you realize that the participle should not be describing the noun here because they don't go together, then you have a misrelated participle. So that's the key. When it's not connected, it's a misrelated participle. Okay, let's look at this 5th example. Walking on the water, the disciples were afraid. A problem. Walking is misrelated to the noun disciples, which is the subject of the sentence. For it is not the disciples who were walking on the water, but it was Jesus Christ who was doing this. The sentence should have been written, walking on the water, Jesus came towards his disciples, but they were afraid because they thought that a ghost was coming towards them. Or number 6, coming to be baptized, John asked the Pharisees and the Sadducees to show that they had repented of their sins. Now here we have to be careful. Coming to be baptized, John asked the Pharisees and the Sadducees. You might be tempted to think, oh, it is the Pharisees and the Sadducees that were coming to be baptized. Well, if that is the case, then this would be related. But notice, I have underlined John. And I've underlined John. John is the first noun that you come to after the participle. Whoever is coming to be baptized, if this is connected to the participle, then John is the one who was coming to be baptized. But we know that that is not correct. Let me look at the problem here. Coming is misrelated to the noun John. For it was not John who was coming to be baptized, but it was the Pharisees and the Sadducees who were coming to be baptized. The sentence should have been written, coming to be baptized, the Pharisees and the Sadducees were asked by John to show that they had repented of their sins. So if you have a participle that does not describe the noun, it does not match the noun, then you know you have a misrelated participle. Number 7, speaking in tongues, the crowd asked, are not all those who are speaking Galileans? Problem, speaking is a participle, which is misrelated to the noun crowd. For it was not the crowd which was speaking in tongues, but the disciples of Christ. The sentence should have been written, speaking in tongues, the disciples of Christ amazed the crowd who asked, are not all those who are speaking Galileans? Number 8, riding in his chariot, Philip ran to the Ethiopian. Well, that don't even make sense. How can somebody be riding in their chariot and run at the same time? Riding in his chariot, Philip ran to the Ethiopian. Problem, riding is a participle which is misrelated to the noun Philip. For it was not Philip who was riding in his chariot, but it was the Ethiopian. This is why Philip had to run to catch up with the Ethiopian. The sentence should have been written, riding in his chariot, the Ethiopian was met by Philip, who had to run to catch up with the chariot. Another example, preaching in the synagogue, the people believed what was spoken by Paul. The problem is, preaching is a participle which is misrelated to the noun people, which is the subject of the sentence. The sentence should have read, preaching in the synagogue, Paul persuaded the people to believe. Number 10, falling down from the window, Paul raised Eutychus from the dead. Problem, the participle falling is misrelated to the noun Paul, which is the subject of the sentence. The sentence should have been written, falling down from the window, Eutychus was found to be dead, but Paul raised him from the dead. Okay, now let us, I'm coming. Let us go through this brief exercise and see if we can identify which sentence has a misrelated participle and which sentence is correct. Okay. Having started in Wuhan, China, we saw that the coronavirus spread quickly to other countries. Okay, Brother Solin, does this sentence have a misrelated participle or is it correct? Explain it for us.
All right. The subject of the verb of the sentence here would be the coronavirus. However, having started is seemingly related to China in the way the sentence is being made. So it should have been having started the coronavirus.
Okay, I get what you're saying. So,
yes.
Okay, having started, we can still keep this, but I'm going to do what you have said. Having started in Wuhan, China, the coronavirus spread quickly to other countries. That would have made more sense, wouldn't it?
Having started what, sir?
Having started in Wuhan, China, the coronavirus spread quickly to other countries.
Yes.
And we leave out we saw.
Yes, sir.
As it is right now, we would be the subject of the sentence. Having started in Wuhan, China, we. But it is not connected because, as you said, the sentence is supposed to be dealing with the coronavirus.
Yes, sir.
And yet there is a connection between, there is an attempt to connect having started with we. It's not we who started, it is the coronavirus that started.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Let us look at this sentence, not being able to breathe easily. Many doctors have ordered ventilators for their hospitals. Now, Brother Roy, does this sentence have a misrelated participle or is it a correct sentence?
It has a misrelated, sir.
Okay, point it out to us.
Not being. And it should be not being able to breathe. Doctors have ordered ventilators for the hospitals.
Okay, so what is wrong in that sentence?
Easily, sir. I think easily is misrepresented.
Okay. Brother Solin, what do you say about this? What's wrong with this sentence, if there is anything wrong with it?
Many doctors, well, let me see. I think not being able to breathe easily, many doctors have ordered ventilators for their hospital. Oh, so now, sir, it is almost as the one that I asked the question about. The subject do not appear here because surely the ones that are not able to breathe should be the patient, those that
Exactly.
are sick. Yes,
That's
sir.
correct. That's correct. It's not the doctors.
Yes, sir.
It's not the doctors that had the problem. It's the doctors who ordered ventilators to help their patients to breathe.
Yes, sir.
And they had to order the ventilators because the patients were not able to breathe easily. So this is a misrelated participle here.
Yes,
It's
sir.
not connected with doctors. The doctors is the subject, yes, but it's not connected with not being able to breathe easily. The sentence could be corrected by saying not being able to breathe easily. The patients were given ventilators, or the patients were put on ventilators at different hospitals. Now that would have made more grammatical sense. Okay, let's try number 3. Attacking the lungs. Doctors believe that is why many patients have difficulty breathing.
Well, this one now is referring to a sickness. Perhaps it could be referring to coronavirus. Attacking coronavirus, well, attacking the lung, coronavirus makes it difficult for the patient to breathe.
So coronavirus should have been the subject.
Yes, sir.
So again, we have a misrelated participle because attacking the lungs is really meant to describe the noun, but the doctors are not really the noun that should be described. It's not connected to attacking the lungs.
Yes, sir.
Okay, number 4. Having covered the earth, we have seen many people humbling themselves before God and begging for mercy. Brother Roy, is this a correct sentence or does it have a misrelated participle?
Having and earth, I think that is not related to the sentence.
Okay.
It should be having we seen many people humbling themselves before God and begging for mercy.
Okay. Now, what do you think the sentence is referring to?
People.
Okay. All right. What would you say covered the earth recently? So that people had to wear masks and stand 6 feet away from each other.
Virus.
Yes, that's it. That's it. So it's the virus that covered the earth.
Oh. Yeah.
Not we didn't cover the earth. It's the virus that covered the earth. The sentence could be corrected by saying, having covered the earth, the coronavirus caused many people to see a need to humble themselves before God and to beg for mercy. So these are a few examples of misrelated participles. I think I've given you enough examples for today. Okay, so all right, let me get back here. Oh, it's a test, huh? Okay. Oh, here it is. Okay, so I'm going to be sending you this lesson so you can study it. Next week, if God permits, you will get your second test on it. All right, so go through it and study it. And once you understand it, you'll be able to recognize any misrelated participle.
Yes, sir.
Any further question on this?
No, Brother Papa.
Sir,
Brother Rod?
concerning the test tomorrow, sir, what should I look out for on both courses?
Okay, you're going to be tested on biblical hermeneutics, lesson number I'm coming. Lesson number 8, which is entitled Knowing the Original Languages of the Bible Can Help You to Interpret the Bible Accurately. Now, last week, Friday, May 6, look in your email. I sent you an email of what to focus on in your preparation for that lesson in biblical hermeneutics. And concerning beginners Hebrew, year 3, last week, Friday, May 6, I sent you lesson 22 entitled Declension of Adjectives and Gender and Number. Study that lesson. And on Friday, April 29, I sent you in your email lesson 21. So study lesson 21, which is declension of nouns and gender and number. And in those two lessons, I want you to focus on agreement of nouns and adjectives in gender and number. In other words, there must be a matching. A masculine singular noun must be described by a masculine singular adjective. A masculine plural noun must be described by a masculine plural adjective. A feminine singular noun must be described by a feminine singular adjective, and a feminine plural noun must be described by a feminine plural adjective. So lessons 21 and 22 are combined together in the test that was given, and it's dealing then with agreement between nouns and adjectives. So that's what you need to focus on for the Hebrew. Any further question?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, take care and
Yes,
have
Brother.
a good day.
Yes,
Yes,
sir. Thank you.
you too, sir.
Yeah.